Shalom from Israel to all of the Daystar viewers around the world. I'm Moshe Bar Tzvi, the producer and founder of Israel Now News. We at Israel Now News are dedicated to bringing you the full story and the truth about Israel from Israel. It's written in the Holy Bible when David said in Psalm 25:5, "Lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day long." And God says in Zechariah 8:16, "These are the things that you shall do. Speak out the truth to one another. Judge with truth and judgment to peace in your gates. And always search for the truth, and the truth shall set you free." John 8:31. I hope you enjoyed the program. God bless you from Jerusalem. Shalom, shalom.
Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El Rom.
And I'm Aaron Viner.
In our top story, a knife-wielding Arab terrorist stabbed 10 people on a bus in Tel Aviv. 2 of the victims are in serious condition with head and neck wounds. 4 others are in moderate condition while the rest suffered light injuries. The 23-year-old Islamic terrorist from the Palestinian city of Tulkarm had entered Israel illegally. The assailant first stabbed the bus driver before attacking the passengers. He was shot and wounded by police as he tried to flee the scene. Hamas praised the stabbing rampage as a heroic and courageous act. In other news, Israeli troops are mobilized on the northern border. Israel has deployed the Iron Dome missile defense system and has canceled all leave for IDF battalions in the north after Hezbollah threatened a bombing campaign against the Jewish state. The terror group is set on retaliation after a convoy of terrorists in the Syrian Golan Heights was eliminated last week. 12 Iranian and Hezbollah terrorists were killed in an alleged Israeli airstrike. Among the dead was a general in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and the son of a former top Hezbollah commander. Israel has remained tight-lipped about the incident, but Iranian news outlets have reported that the attack on the convoy was carried out by Israeli helicopter gunships. Thousands of Lebanese citizens loyal to Hezbollah flooded the streets of Beirut, screaming death to Israel during the funeral processions for the terrorist. This comes just days after the release of a startling report which details the advanced weapons capability of the Iranian-backed Hezbollah terror organization. Aaron has more on that story.
Yes, Yochanan. Hezbollah has more firepower than most European states combined. This according to former Israeli National Security Advisor Yaakov Amidror. In his assessment of the major threats posed to Israel in the coming year, Amidror focused on the Lebanon-based terror group's capabilities as well as its disciplined military-style hierarchy. He said that the arsenal that it's stockpiled includes more than 150,000 surface-to-sea missiles, anti-aircraft rockets, drones, and modern anti-tank missiles, the majority of which can reach targets within Israel to the south. He made special note that Hezbollah's rare and substantial firepower appears to surpass the total combined weaponry of most European states.
The U.S. Consulate in Jerusalem is reportedly arming and training Palestinians. Despite an agreement with the State of Israel that only former IDF combat soldiers will be armed by the consulate, the United States has reportedly given weapons to 35 Palestinian guards. Several Israeli guards have quit in protest of what they are calling the arming and training of a Palestinian militia. The former consulate employees claim that Dan Cronin, the U.S. consulate's chief security officer in Jerusalem, operates with a clear anti-Israel bias. They stress that since Cronin was appointed to his position over a year ago, 7 Israeli guards were dismissed. The most senior Palestinian guard, who serves as an advisor to Cronin, served time in an Israeli prison for membership in a terrorist organization. These armed Palestinians have undergone weapons training in a facility in Jericho, and many of them were flown to the United States for advanced training in violation of the agreement between Washington and Jerusalem.
The State of Israel has expressed great sorrow at the death of Argentinian State Prosecutor Alberto Nisman. The 51-year-old jurist was shot to death in his apartment just hours before he was scheduled to testify before Congress in Buenos Aires and present evidence that he claimed implicated Argentinian President Cristina Fernandez in concealing and conspiring with the Iranian terrorists responsible for the deaths of 85 people in the 1994 bombing of the Jewish Community Center in the nation's capital. Nisman publicly accused the president and Foreign Minister Hector Timmerman of covering up Iran's involvement in the terror attack and of working to drop the charges against 4 Iranians and a Lebanese citizen affiliated with Hezbollah. A statement released by Israel's foreign ministry eulogized Nisman as a courageous and fearless fighter for justice who worked with determination to expose the identities of the attacks perpetrators and their dispatchers. The statement went on to express the state of Israel's hope that the authorities in Argentina will continue Nisman's activity and make every possible effort to bring those responsible for the attacks to justice.
The Council of the European Union has announced that it will appeal the EU's decision to remove Hamas from the list of terrorist organizations. Late last year, the High Court of the European Union ruled that Hamas should be taken off the blacklist of terror groups. This appeal requires that Hamas assets in the European Union remain frozen until a final judgment is made on their status. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responded to the news of the original decision, saying the burden of proof falls on the EU, and we expect it to permanently return Hamas to the list. Netanyahu went on to say that Hamas is a murderous terrorist organization that emphasizes in its charter the destruction of Israel.
Hezbollah terror boss Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah has confirmed weeks of reports that a spy infiltrated his organization's command. During a 3-hour interview with the Lebanon-based Al Mayadeen television network, Nasrallah said that the suspect held a senior position in a sensitive Hezbollah security unit and confessed to collaborating with Israel. Several Lebanese newspapers published articles identifying the spy as Mohammed Shorba and alleged that he was involved in the assassination of 2 high-level Hezbollah commanders.
The International Criminal Court at The Hague has announced that it will launch an investigation into alleged Israeli war crimes during Operation Protective Edge last summer. The Jewish state was forced to engage the terrorist organization Hamas in the Gaza Strip after Hamas operatives kidnapped and murdered 3 Israeli teenagers and then fired thousands of rockets on southern Israel. The conduct of the Israeli army during Operation Protective Edge has been applauded by world and military leaders for its extreme caution to avoid civilian casualties. But the Palestinians claim that Israel violated international law, and the ICC has given legitimacy to their charge by launching an investigation against Israel. Jerusalem is furious over the inquiry and is demanding that its allies cut funding to the tribunal, which they insist is merely a political body operating with an anti-Semitic agenda. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the inquiry scandalous. A representative for the United States said it is a tragic irony that Israel, which had been hit by thousands of terrorist rockets, is now being scrutinized by the ICC. During a visit to the Jewish state, Canadian Foreign Minister John Baird said the ICC probe against Israel is unjustified. The Canadian diplomat added that it is inconceivable that a terror organization is lodging a criminal petition against Israel. He said Hamas used their own civilians as human shields while it fired rockets at Israel. Baird added that the Palestinian Authority is making a mockery of international law.
During the Canadian Foreign Minister's visit to the Holy Land, he held meetings with both Israeli and Palestinian leaders. His time with the Palestinians focused on Canada's disapproval of the PA's bid at the International Criminal Court, as well as its recent efforts to gain statehood recognition at the United Nations, reportedly telling Palestinian leaders that they had crossed red lines. During an official visit to the Palestinian Authority's headquarters in Ramallah, Baird's convoy was assaulted by angry Palestinians who shouted that he wasn't welcome there. The protesters accused Ottawa of holding a pro-Israel stance and pelted his vehicle with eggs and shoes. The foreign minister downplayed the incident and said that despite the hostile greeting, his meeting was candid and frank in areas where there was a difference of opinion.
Israel's security agency, the Shin Bet, has arrested 7 Palestinian members of ISIS, including the terror group's chief of staff in the region. Israel has classified the Islamic State as an illegal organization, and any activity related to the terror group is against the law. According to the Shin Bet, the men allegedly raised money for the Islamic State and prepared to travel to Syria for training. They also reportedly planned to kill Israeli police officers, specifically those of Druze descent.
Republican Senators Dean Heller and Ted Cruz opened the new session by proposing the presidential waiver on the issue of the U.S. Embassy in Israel be revoked. Senator Cruz explained that 15 years ago, Congress passed the Jerusalem Embassy Act with overwhelming bipartisan majorities in both the House and the Senate. And then he expressed his hope that the members of Congress on both sides of the aisle will support this important bill. He went on to say that it is long past due for the government to finally and unequivocally recognize Israel's historic capital, both in word and deed. Since its passing, the 1995 Jerusalem Embassy Act has been stalled by a loophole, permitting sitting presidents to postpone its enforcement for 6-month periods based on national security reasons. Beginning with then-President Bill Clinton, the issue has passed the U.S. leader's desk twice each year, and everyone since that time has chosen to delay its implementation. This current legislation would nullify the presidential waiver and force the United States to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of the Jewish state.
Israel is mentioned in the Bible as a light unto the nations, and now Israel is literally lighting the streets of Ethiopia. The African nation's Ministry of Water, Irrigation and Energy has announced that it has signed an agreement with Aora, an Israeli solar hybrid power company, to introduce affordable, renewable energy to the Ethiopian population. 2/3 of the country have no electrical service, but the technology created by Aora will provide them with affordable access to power. Zev Rosenzweig, the CEO of the Israeli company, said such access will have significant social and economic impact on communities off the grid. It will provide power to schools and medical facilities, refrigeration for food processing and post-harvest storage, groundwater pumping, and much more. The Ethiopian Minister of Water, Irrigation and Energy said Aora's unique solar hybrid technology is impressive and well suited to provide both energy and heat to support local economic development in rural locations in Ethiopia.
And that concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein, and we're here on a beautiful day in Jerusalem on a rooftop studio. My guest today is Shaya Ben Yehuda, the Director of International Relations for Yad Vashem. Shaya, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Shaya, tell our viewers a little bit about what is Yad Vashem.
Yad Vashem is a Holocaust memorial to the 6 million Jews who died during the Holocaust, who were murdered brutally during the Holocaust. Yad Vashem is a place where all the memories are being brought, and that's the place from where we try to educate the world and to give the world some meaning for the future while we remember the past.
You know, when you come to Israel, everyone comes to visit Yad Vashem. Why is that important?
First of all, it's a good question to ask the visitors why it's important. But if I can try to summarize some of the impressions that I got from visitors, it's important because it's a very important place to see in order to understand what it's Israel about. Why do we have to have a strong country that we can protect? It's also important in order to understand what can be atrocity and where atrocity can lead us. But more important to that, it's important to come to visit Yad Vashem in order to understand how do we have to build the future of the Jewish people and the future of humanity in order to have a better world.
Yad Vashem is also on the cutting edge of education for the next generation about the Holocaust. There's other museums and memorials to the Holocaust around the world that people are using to educate the future. Why is this education so important for the next generation?
We believe that the real way to confront all kind of atrocities, hatreds, xenophobia is through education. If we want to give a deep meaning to youth about the future, the only way is to do it with a strong education. This is why Yad Vashem's main priority is to educate and train teachers all over the world, bringing youth to Israel and educating them about the Holocaust, but not just staying in the past, giving them a sense of what should be their personal responsibility for the future.
Right now it's the 70th anniversary of the Holocaust. There's commemorating events all over the world. What is Yad Vashem doing for the 7th anniversary?
So Yad Vashem is not working just during the date of the 27th of January, which is the International Holocaust Memorial Day, and this year it's the 70th anniversary since Auschwitz liberation. It's not the 70th anniversary of the end of the war, which will be on May, but it's an important day because it became, through the United Nations, the International Holocaust Memorial Day. For this year, what Yad Vashem does is, first and foremost, the chairman of Yad Vashem, Avner Shalev, is going to be the keynote speaker at the assembly in the United Nations on that date, together with the President of the State of Israel, Mr. Reuven Rivlin, in a special event. On top of that, because it's an important milestone in history, and not just Jewish history, on the 26th of January, at the evening before, Yad Vashem is going to open the special exhibition about the Holocaust in the United Nations, in the foyer at the entrance to the building, which will be the first time that we are doing a traveling exhibition that will be able later on to travel all over the world to educate the world about the Holocaust. On top of that, our friends worldwide are doing a lot of activities all around the world.
You also have Christian friends of Yad Vashem. Why is it important for Christians to get involved in the memorial of the Holocaust?
It's a very good question. When I came to Yad Vashem some 16 years ago, I had one of my dreams was to be able to establish some relations between Christians and Jews in Yad Vashem, building it as a bridge over the past and the years of hatred between Christianity and Judaism. And the Holocaust, it's a culmination of nearly 2,000 years of hatred. But the Holocaust, I thought, should serve as a vehicle, as a play, and Yad Vashem as a place to build bridges for the future between Jews and Christians. And I believe that if we shall be able, looking into the past, connecting both sides to our very common roots, then we can build a very strong relation for the future. And I think the future between Jewish people and Christian people is crucial for humanity.
Shaya, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
My message to our friends and to Christians all over the world about the importance of those relations is that we have together to light more lights in the world. You know, a month ago we celebrated together Hanukkah and Christmas, and we had together the menorah and the Christmas tree, which symbolizes our common effort to light the world and to give more light everywhere. And I think my message to Christians is that we have to work together to look into the past and asking ourselves how we can bring positive way of looking at life everywhere in the world. And that's a common work that we have to do together through educating, through reaching out all over the world.
Thank you, Shai, for being on the show, and thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Up next, shining light from Israel.
Tmol Shilshom is a very famous place and a very special creation. It's both a bookstore, a cafe, and a restaurant, and also a place for readings, for literary meetings, for live music. We're famous by now as a culinary institution. People come here for the food. A lot of people love having dinners here. People have their regular functions here. People who love dining here also enjoy it when they see on our program that a famous writer is coming, and they'll either come especially for the reading or stay for the reading.
Nachliat Shiva is I think the most vibrant neighborhood in Jerusalem. It's a mix of everything. It has some shopping streets like Yoel Solomon, which again has a great mix of more upmarket shopping, artistic stores, ceramics, Judaica, and also some cheaper stores in between. It's a very eclectic mix, this neighborhood, right in the center of Jerusalem.
Yesterday we heard from someone who lives here that it was a very cute cafe with books everywhere, and we were pleasantly surprised. It's very nice. This restaurant, I'd say, is a mix, a combination of both the cultural side and the food, which is excellent, but it has its little je ne sais quoi here that's very cute with the books and a nice vibe.
In one of the book guides that we're mentioned in, we're third after the Kotel, the Wailing Wall, and the Israel Museum comes to Shilshom. Unbelievable.
Please stay tuned for the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
For I will take you from among the nations, gather you out of all countries, and bring you into your own land.
Over the past 35 years, the International Christian Embassy have been actively engaged in the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. More than 120,000 Jews have been helped by the Christian Embassy to come back from the four corners of the world here to the land of Israel. The main focal point was always the former Soviet Union, and the people which came to Israel were Russians or from the Ukraine or from Belarus. Today we see a major shift taking place where for the first time the majority of Jewish people which are coming to Israel do come from first world countries.
The Hebrew word Aliyah refers to the immigration of Jews from the diaspora to the land of Israel. According to recent statistics published by the Jewish Agency for Israel, immigration to Israel continued to increase in 2014 by 32% overall. While Aliyah numbers from Western Europe were up 177% in 2014, France alone saw its Aliyah numbers increase by 289%.
I think that I can clearly tell you that there is a greater interest among French Jews to move to Israel, to make Aliyah, or to consider Aliyah. It is not an operation like an Aliyah operation like we saw from countries like Ethiopia or Russia after the Iron Curtain was lifted, but we see here a great interest, and I believe this is something that is going to grow in this coming year.
Ukraine is another European country that has seen a significant increase in Aliyah in 2014. A struggling economy and continued tensions with Russia have contributed to many Ukrainian Jews considering the idea of moving to Israel. Penina Zubarev and her family made Aliyah from Ukraine in 2009. For the Zubarev family, starting a new life in Israel was a challenge.
Now it's a lot of Ukrainian Jews think about to leave Ukraine because it's so difficult time now to make money, to care about family. if you decide to leave Ukraine, you lose your Ukrainian citizenship and all benefits.
There is something in the atmosphere that is uncomfortable in some places, and people think, what do I do next? And I'm happy that the Jewish people consider Israel, their homeland, as the best alternative. If I can send a message to the Christian friends of Israel around the world, is please do two things. One thing is donate. Give the money that is necessary for the Israeli institutions to make the best way of Aliyah. And the second thing is to pray, because we need the prayers. We need to be in your hearts like we know we are already in, and we need to build this bridge of solidarity, working together for the fulfillment of the biblical prophecy.
As you have seen, we are living in a very special time of human history. God is opening a unique window of opportunity for the global body of Christ to actively be involved with the return of the Jewish people back to the land of Israel. Today, you personally can be involved with the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. You can help the Jewish people to return back to the land of their fathers, like the prophets of old foretold. Your donation and your prayer can make sure that the prophetic destiny of the Jewish people will become a reality today. So I want to invite you today to pray for the Aliyah of the Jewish people. Pray for the work of the Christian embassy as we help the Jewish people to return back, but also consider making a generous gift in order to help us to return Jewish people from France, from the Ukraine, back to the land of Israel. We need your support, we need your prayers. May the Lord bless you richly out of Jerusalem.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.